We're here to announce that Nellie Mae, New England's largest charitable organization in support of education, focused exclusively on education and support for student-centered approaches to learning, has awarded a 3-year, $5.1 million grant to support a partnership between Portland Public Schools and several community-based organizations represented here up front to design a student-centered pathway system that will better meet the needs of all students in Portland's public high schools. This is a wonderful opportunity for our high schools to create models for personalized learning that will benefit all the students in Portland Public Schools. All 4 of Portland Public High Schools, Deering, Portland, Casco Bay, and the Portland Arts and Technology School, plus our adult ed program, will participate in this multi-year initiative. Key partners represented today are Jobs for Maine graduates, Craig Larrabee, Chief Executive Officer, Learning Works Incorporated, Ethan Strimling, Chief Executive Officer, and the City of Portland's Refugee Services Program, represented today by Regina. We're thrilled to have all of our partners present. The Nellie Mae Grant will allow us to bridge classroom learning with private sector, real-life experience and activities in a way that benefits Portland students and teachers. Jobs for Maine Graduates is a lead reform support organization for this initiative, and its role is a link and serve to bridge between the high schools, employers, and key community leaders. Craig and I have known each other for the better part of 20 years, and it's really exciting to have Jobs for Maine Graduates as a lead partner in this effort. Learning Works, located on the West End, is a Portland nonprofit that works with youth, the immigrant community, and low-income families. Ethan Strimling, Learning Works Chief Executive Officer, has forged a meaningful relationship with the Portland Public School Systems since I became superintendent 3 years ago. Extensive community engagement will be conducted on behalf of this partnership, and the City of Portland's Social Services Division for Refugee Services is collaborating with several entities such as the Portland chapter of the National Association of Advancement of Colored People and the United Way of Greater Portland. This partnership, according to our own Virginia Phillips, provides an incredible opportunity to diminish educational disparities by strengthening the community's trust, understanding, and access to our educational community. Truly, this grant would not have been possible without our community partners. Craig Larrabee from Jobs for Maine Graduates will speak next.
Thank you, Dr. Morse. This is truly a very unique opportunity, and I must say that we have a lot to celebrate, but at the same time, we've got a lot of hard work ahead of us. What this grant is really about is emphasizing that every single child has an opportunity to be successful, that every child should be graduating from high school prepared to continue their education or enter the workforce. We believe we put together a collaborative over the last year, that we've done a lot of reaching out, if you will, throughout the community and engaging a lot of key stakeholders along the way in putting together a plan that we feel will help raise the graduation rates here in Portland, improve the number of kids, the rate of the number of kids going on to continue their education and being prepared to enter the workforce. But I want to emphasize one thing, that this collaborative, that in the amount of work that's gone on in the last year and a half, our partners at Learning Works, our partners in the Portland School District, the City of Portland, the students, the parents, the teachers that put vast amounts of time into vetting this process. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for their hard work. That outreach was critically important through the planning grant process, and it's going to be even more critical through the implementation process. For us to really make a change, we've got to have this be a true grassroots effort and move the paradigm. Change is hard, change is difficult, but we owe it to our students to give them the best opportunity to be successful. And I believe that we have the right people here to make that happen. So we are pleased to play a role in this. We're pleased. Our role, Jobs for Maine Graduates' role in this work, we are known as the Resource Support Organization, bringing some management and capacity, and also building upon the successful programs, the model applications that we offer here in the Portland School District. So We are very, very excited. We are very much in a celebration mode here today, but we do realize the responsibility that comes with this grant, that we do need to find ways to make sure that more of our kids are graduating and that more of our kids are prepared to become productive citizens. So with that, that is the challenge ahead of us, and we will be taking that responsibility head on. So I thank all the partners, thank Dr. Morse, the Portland School Board for this opportunity to play. Thank you.
And I can only say this about 500 times. This grant would not be possible without these community partners, and our next significant community partner is Ethan Strimling from LearningWorks.
Thanks, Jim, and also thanks to JMG for their lead on this. We were the fiscal agent on that I-3 grant, putting it together, and I remember how difficult and hard and the process of managing everybody, and you folks have done a remarkable job. And Kim, if you don't know Kim, she's really been a tremendous force in making this happen and getting us to the end. So we all owe Kim a great thanks. The grant would not have happened without her, so thank you. I would say back in 1990, somewhere in there, when I was a student up at the University of Maine, I served on the Maine Coalition for Excellence in Education when it was just being formed. And at that time, we were talking about outcomes and how to serve more kids, and the graduation rates in the state of Maine were somewhere in the mid-70s for high school students. And the governor came down and he said to us at that time, Governor McKernan, and he said to us, I hope that these efforts can get our graduation rates up to 90%, because it is not okay that we're at 75 or 76. And at the time, I remember thinking to myself, yeah, wow, great, 90%, that's phenomenal. But of course, 90% is not phenomenal, right? 90% means you are accepting that 10% can be lost. That means that you are saying right up front, I'm okay with 10% of the kids in Maine falling through the cracks. And what this grant is saying today is that's not all right. All kids, as Craig said, all kids. LearningWorks, our role in this is trying to work with those kids who are most at risk of falling through. Our role in this grant will be to help build bridges so that those kids can get into alternative programs, new forms of learning, programs in the community, whatever it is, before they hit the street. Because we know once you hit the street, it's much, much, much harder to get off the street. And this opportunity, this investment in this community, I believe, more than anything I've seen, is going to allow us to say all kids must graduate, and we will no longer accept 10%, 15%, even 5% not making it. Thank you for being here today and being part of this.
And our final speaker before we go to question and answers is the Honorable Michael Brennan, Mayor of Portland.
Thank you very much for being here. And first, I just want to commend the school committee for showing leadership and taking the necessary step forward to accept this grant. This actually puts the Portland school system at the forefront, not only in the state, but across the country, and cutting-edge, innovative approach to education. I also want to thank Jim for the leadership that he's shown, and clearly all the partners that are here. And I thought Ethan's story and Greg's story about the fact that, or Jim, I guess, actually talked about this, that they tried this before and it failed. And now, out of that failure, we have $5 million that are going to be used to improve the Portland school system in a way that, again, is really going to put us on the leading edge of educational reform, not only in the state, but as I mentioned, across the country. But the single biggest thing that we struggle with in public education is equity. How do we make sure that every child gets what they need? So we constantly have this pull between these students need this student needs that student needs something else, or this family needs, a fifth or a sixth thing. This approach of student-centered learning and basically focusing on student achievement allows us to address that equity issue in ways that we never have before. This will ensure that every child and their family within the Portland school system gets to achieve at their highest level. And recently, the Portland school system passed a vision, a plan for a vision. And at the center of that was student achievement. How do we make sure that our students have the resources? How do we make sure that they have the support to achieve at the highest level they can? And this grant is going to allow that to happen. But more important, the way that we have good schools in Portland and across the state is by having strong community partnerships. And when you look in this state and you look across the country where schools are successful, it's because the Chamber has stepped up, because United Way has stepped up, because Learning Works has stepped up, because the community has stepped up and said, we value our schools, we value our students, and we're going to make them successful. This is a unique partnership that's going to allow our community to step up in a way that it never has before and provide the quality schools that we want in Portland and focus on the student achievement that's going to make a difference. And I'm just going to say one last thing. And I thought Chris was going to elaborate on this, and he didn't, so I'm going to put some words in his mouth for him. I have the liberty of doing that now. But many of you know that Maine is the oldest state by median age in the country. Chuck Lawton, a respected economist, just wrote an article for the Sunday Telegram. And what he talked about is the most frightening issue facing the state right now is that when the economic recovery starts to occur in a way that we can actually recognize it, Maine might not be able to be part of that economic recovery because we will not have enough young people coming into the workforce to replace those of us, I shouldn't say those of us are leaving, but older people that are leaving. And back to Ethan's comment, what it means is that every student has to graduate. Every student now is precious to us in a way that we need to make sure that they're successful in school and that they graduate because the future of Maine depends on them being successful. So thank you very much, and I look forward to working with all of you and with all the partners. And again, I want to commend the school committee for taking that leadership role and for making the decision to move forward with this. Thank you.
So in closing our formal remarks, what I would want to say is we worked on this grant for 14 months together. 14 long months reaching out to as many facets of the community as we possibly could think of. And one would say, well, the work is done. We got the grant, yay. We said yay last night 9 times, and then I said it 10th time. Yay, we got the grant. But I also want to point out Deb Bigno and Ira Wallace this morning as principals of Portland High and Deering High, because the work shifts. It is hard work to change institutions and directions. And these two people will be on the forefront of this phase 2, which is implementation.